What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So, we got another episode of This Week in Warframe. We're going to go over the entire weekly reset and tell you basically what you can expect as a Warframe player this week. Before we get into it, though, make sure you're subbed to this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads and all the other stuff. Also, I'll be live on the stream right after this goes up, doing this weekly reset. So, you want to come grind out these missions, come on, stop by. And just a heads up, this week in Warframe, we have Star Days going on, but there's not really anything big and new happening this week. Actually, to an extent, there's not even going to be a new dev short this week. But you know what you do have this week is an umbra forma attention for 150 steel essence. So, yeah, if you got your drop from a couple streams ago for the umbra forma back then, you can get another umbra forma in like the last 2 weeks. So 150 steel essence for the umbra forma attention. Make sure you get this. It will be available for a week. That's your first item. But yeah, as far as, stuff happening in Warframe this week, we've got Star Days that happened, or that started last week. It'll be going all month. And there's not really that much new stuff in there. Just a couple glyphs, I believe. But beyond that, we have a big Prime Resurgence event going on right now, which will be going until the 15th of February, and that's going to involve a ton of frames being currently unvaulted, such as Saren Prime, Hydroid Prime, Mesa Prime, etc., etc. So go ahead and check out the Varzia Aya vendor to see what is available if you want to get any of that stuff. Also, not this week, but the next week, guys. It will be the last week to turn in your jahu gargoyle stuff in your clan dojo. For the Gargoyle's Cry event, that's still available. The vendor's still available. The items don't drop anymore, but you can turn in your splinters for arcane still until the 15th. So just keep that in mind. That you might want to do it this week, honestly. Just turn in all the rest of your splinters if you have any left over. For Arcadia's weekly wares, let's see what we got. Okay, so not a whole lot of great stuff here, but maybe this Archon Catalyst is useful to some people out there. So, for the stuff that rotates weekly, we got the secondary Archon Adapter for 25 pathos for that. That's a crazy amount of pathos. Okay, 25 pathos for that. There's a forma blueprint and 5k Kuva, which I believe does not actually rotate. They should be here every week, so it's once per week, but this forma and this Kuva should be here every week. We've also got the companion ribbon mod for 20 pathos. Not super useful. But the Archon Catalyst for 20 pathos is probably the most useful thing this week. So basically 2 Aura Worm fights for this 20 plat item. And it's actually a blueprint too, so it's going to have a build time as well. But at least a somewhat useful item in Arcades for once, which does not seem to happen super often. So let's get into stuff that people actually care about, including me, Archon Hunt, and Incarnon rotations. Now, we've gone through the entire rotation for Incarnons now. It's been all 7 weeks. Now we're back at week 1. And unfortunately, for people that are coming back to playing the game, week 1 has some of the least exciting Incarnons in the entire game, if not the least exciting. But first off, let's start with the normal path circuit to see what frames you can get as a guaranteed drop for grinding this out. Alright, so you got Ivara, Inaros, and Titania. This is actually a kind of hard choice. I think I'd probably go with Titania here, as she does require a quest that involves a lot of scanning of plants. But even if you do pick this, I think you might have to have some plants scanned to build her either way. So maybe be a little bit careful on that one. But yeah, getting the second copy of her could be pretty annoying with all that Samaris rep that's required. We also got Inaros. Inaros normal. He comes from a quest as well. So these are 2 quest frames right here. Getting the second copy of them can be kind of annoying. I would not really recommend going for Ivara as your choice this week, as you can get a second copy of her relatively easily from doing spy vaults. But yeah, these are both quest frames right here, so getting the second copy of them will be pretty annoying. But as far as who has the most useful helmet ability, Titania's ability Spellbind gives status immunity for yourself and teammates, and Inaros' helmet ability is Desiccation, which just throws pocket sand at enemies and makes them able to be finished, I guess. But yeah, Titania is definitely a lot more important, so get her if you have to choose between these 2. Inaros is getting reworked in the future, but we don't know what extent his rework will really be covering, so yeah, for my Titania rank ups, I've got one of her best Augmons in the game, Razorwing Blitz. But keep in mind, this is somewhat random. You could get this Augment mod, you could get a different Augment mod here, but hopefully you get this one because it's really good. Alright, moving on to the Steel Path. We got our boring Incarnons this week, but let's just go ahead and talk about them anyway. Reminder, if you have not played in a while, if you have Rank 9 Opportunity Intrinsic, you can get this stuff instead of Incarnons if you choose. Alright, so let's go through what all these do and what overall power level I'd really recommend them at. So starting with the Bratton Incarnon. We got lots of Bratton variants in this game. I got this one, the Bratton Prime. In the Incarnon form, it makes the bullets of the Bratton Prime, of the alternate form, will be exploding radial damage heat bullets. Now, that's pretty good, but it's not as good as the Burstin Prime Incarnon, which are, they're very similar effects. They both have radial damage heat attacks. This one just has a lot lower fire rate, a little bit higher damage per bullet, maybe a lot more damage per bullet, but the reduction in fire rate and a lot lower ammo makes this weaker than the Burst and Prime for high-level situations. That being said, it does have more AoE on the shots than the Burst and Prime Incarnon, so it's more AoE, I guess. But yeah, still, only get it if you really like the Bratton, if you have nostalgia of the Bratton, because there is a good upgrade to the Bratton. I mean, we get, ammo efficiency perks, you get reduced recoil, you get increased crit. Like, it's a good upgrade to your Bratton Prime, but it's just not a meta weapon at all, unfortunately. It's a lot better than before. The Leto Prime Incarnon going down a similar route. It's more of a collector's item for the Leto Prime. If you are a OG founder of the Leto Prime, yes, the Leto Prime does exist. But if you're not a OG founder from like way back, you got the Leto Vandal as your option, and this thing can hit pretty hard. It's not as good as the Dual Toxist. Like, if you're only looking for the best stuff in the game, just pass up this one entirely. The Dual Toxist Incarnon is just better. This is like a semi-auto version of the Dual Toxist with, I guess it hits harder per shot technically. But yeah, definitely go with the Dual Tox over this if you're going for a good pistol. But that's from a couple weeks ago. But for this week, it's passable. If you get the Leto Vandal, I guess you could use this. But not really a top weapon, just like the Bratton Vandal. Moving on to another weapon that's just not meta at all. We've got the Skana Incarnon. Another one that if you're an OG founder, the Skana Prime technically exists for OG founders, but not for most people. What this one will do is on the Incarnon form, just a quick description of this. When you hit an enemy with this, it will chain to nearby enemies. Sorry, I didn't really explain that. It just works with the Dual Toxist, don't even bother. But for the Skana Incarnon, you will stun nearby enemies when it enters the Incarnon form and after a finisher attack. So pretty good if you're playing with Excalibur, I guess. After doing a finisher attack, it's an AoE blind. You can like chain your blinding, I guess, if you're playing Excalibur. So interesting there. But yeah, besides, it's just a really good stat sword. Like if you want a high stat sword, there you go. You can just literally take the Skana, the Prisma Skana or the base Skana if you really needed to, and upgrade the stats massively. The Incarnon form on this does not really make a big difference to me. It's just a weird utility thing where it blinds nearby enemies. Would not recommend this one at all. The last two, we got the Paris Prime, or the Paris Incarnon, which I have in the Paris Prime. The Incarnon form on this becomes a railgun arrow that can cover like an entire hallway of enemies. Very high status chance with the Visage Ball augment, or Exilis mod from Deimos, which can give you increased status chance and give you a built-in heal. And yeah, it's just a very, very high status chance weapon. If you look at this Incarnon choice, 60% increased status chance on the Incarnon tier here. So that's massive for a gas proc build, because you got the built-in heat, throw in one toxin mod, you got gas build. But yeah, it's not really meta at all, to be honest. But as far as this week, it's probably one of the best options you got, because this week has some of the worst Incarnons. But yeah, multi-target makes the Paris you've been using all these years actually hit really hard. I'd recommend it if you like bows. It's very similar to the Dread, though. If you have the Dread Incarnon, you're pretty much getting a second Dread Incarnon here. But I think the Paris Incarnon is better than the Dread Incarnon, personally. And for the final Incarnon of the week, we got the Kunai Incarnon. Funny enough, this is the one I like the most out of all these this week after all the testing I've done over the last couple months. So what we have here is an Incarnon that will become a homing multi-shot attack that will it'll home on enemies across the room and hit them really hard. So it goes for headshots. Now here's the problem though, it's single target. It will only kill one enemy at a time. Even with punch through, it's only killing one enemy at a time. So be careful with this. If you want to do level 10,000 missions, this can take care of level 10,000 enemies very easily. We got Death Trap Trigger on here. When swapping for your primary to this, you get a massive crit chance and crit damage increase. That can be really, really powerful for killing enemies in one hit. So as far as my recommendations for the best Incarnons this week, to me, I like the Kunai one the most, but as far as overall usefulness, it's probably like the Bratton and like the Paris. I really don't recommend the Leto. I really don't recommend the Skana just because they're so generic. I mean, they're just better versions of the Leto Incarnon, and the Skana Incarnon, it's just not a very useful effect. An AoE blind on frames that you want to blind on, they usually have a blind built into the kit, like Excalibur, like I said earlier. So wouldn't really recommend it. But if you do want to get a melee this week, maybe go for one of the guns that's interesting to you. Maybe you want the level 10,000 killer, the Kunai, and you want a cool sword, a sword that has high stats. There you go. But my overall recommendations would be both these primaries, the Bratton and the Bratton and the Paris. Don't really get used that much, but I can't really in good conscience recommend the Kunai to most people as it's only single target. So. That's it for your Incarnon recommendations. Let's move on to the Archon Hunt to see what we got. And a reminder as well that Archon shards will be fusible in the Dante Unbound update. It might actually become 3 Archon shards to fuse it instead of 4 like we were actually shown initially. So just keep that in mind. Doing call missions, doing Archon hunts will potentially reward you over the next couple months because we'll fuse shards together. We got a red Archon shard, the Wolf Archon, mission types, mobile defense, interception, and the final boss showdown. Good luck getting an Archon shard that can become purple shards or orange Tau shards once the Dante Unbound update comes out. Now, another thing that I think you should probably start I'm not trying to force you to do it. I'm just saying, maybe you could start doing call missions more often if you want to be getting those shards for fusion in March. As far as the shard that Chipper has, we have the Amber Archon shard at Chipper, being able to be turned into green shards and orange shards. So yeah, you get, if the change goes through they were talking about, this would be 3 Amber shards for 1 Amber Tau shard. So that sounds decent to me. It's better than 4, that's for sure. And yeah, that is something you can definitely look forward to in a future update. For call missions, this is where you get that stock to buy that shard from Chipper. I've got Junk Run, with the challenges being Deathless, complete without dying or becoming veiled. Get 5 kills in 5 seconds. Rescue 5 captured Ostrons. Find the extra Thumper part for Chipper. Destroy 3 Pazul Axums and defeat both of the deacons with using a shock trap. The shock trap deacons are in the second room of this mission. We have to distract the deacons to get out of the walkway that you'll be doing through the entire mission. So very easy there, just free stock basically. Alright, for your Nightwave stuff, now keep in mind we do not know when this Nightwave season will end. I'm assuming we'll have another 2 months of it at least. And they will give us at least 2 weeks notice before this Nightwave ends, okay? Now, taking a look at what we have here, we've got our dailies, of course, but we've got the first weekly, not a warning shot, kill 100 enemies with headshots. Next weekly, kill a Tusk Thumper in the Plains of Eidolon. Pretty straightforward. If you go out there during the day, these do not spawn at night, you can kill a Tusk Thumper. It doesn't have to be a Doma Thumper, it's just any old Thumper will work for this. Kill the Exploiter Orb as your first Elite Weekly. The Exploiter Orb is the big blue spider. That's where you farm Hildren from, not the Prophet Taker. So you have to go to deck 12 to do this. Good luck doing that. It's one of my least favorite fights in the game. Complete 3 puzzles in Naviri. Okay, this one is for me. This one I need to learn how to do myself. So their how-to right here. Collect Enigma Gyrums by completing puzzles in Naviri. Look for pillars of blue light to the code of each puzzle. I don't think I've ever done one of these before, so yikes. I need some tips and tricks on this one. I'm just kidding. Now, I think I've done one puzzle ever, but yeah, you gotta have your graphics settings on properly so you can see everything in there. A weird Elite Weekly, but at least it came in here like months after the Nightwave started, not right at the beginning. So, complete 3 puzzles in Naviri is your second Elite Weekly, and for the permanent weeklies, kill 30 Eximus, complete 15 missions, and kill 500 enemies are going to be here every week. For the Nightwave Store, they changed my sorting again, but here we are with the Evergreen stuff at the top, and as far as the helmets, this will all be personal preference, of course. We've got the Dagoth helmet, the Dagoth Godsion helmet. So if you don't have the Dagoth, okay, we got a Dagoth helmet and a Kalervo helmet this week, so that's pretty decent. This might be the first time that the Dagoth helmet has shown up in the Nightwave Store, actually. Now, don't quote me on that, but I don't think I've ever actually seen it in here besides this week, so that's cool if you like Dagoth. If you remember Dagoth exists. For Aura mods and Augment mods, we've got Physique, Deadeye, and Steel Charge. Steel Charge is the best of these Aura mods as options, and as far as the Augment mods returning, we've got Wild Frenzy of the Gurkata and Exposing Harpoon for the Harpack. Neither of these are really meta, but the Wild Frenzy one's kind of funny on the Gurkata, giving you a massive fight rate increase. We've also got some Conclave Augment mods down here, the Singularity mod for Nyx, Prism Guard for Mirage, Recharge Barrier for Volt, and Focus Acceleration for the Tetra. As far as which ones are the best, Prism Guard for Mirage is definitely the best out of all these choices. We also got Wolf Beacons. You need to summon the Wolf to farm his hammer. There you go. That's your Nightwave offerings and your Nightwave challenges. Let's go take a look at the Invigorations. And what is this Necromite doing out here? I didn't realize they came out here. But yeah, you can just go buy a Necromite in the market if you want to have it flying around your ship. And apparently outside, talking the call. So, reminder, these are random per player per week. So just because I have ridiculously good one for Mirage doesn't mean you have a good one for Mirage, and vice versa. And taking a look right now, let's just hope that Mesa one's good, because these are frames I don't really play that often. So if you want to unlock this stuff, you can unlock it from the Market tab. Just search Helminth, and it's in there. So there's also an Invigoration segment as well if you want to get this in-game rank 3 with the Daimyo Syndicate, or rank 5 with the Daimyo Syndicate for the Invigoration. Let's start with what we have. So Yareli, a frame that doesn't even exist to me, got a really ridiculous Invigoration for ability strength and reload speed. So, I don't really remember if Yareli's crit chance scales to strength, but something on her scales to strength, like the bubbles or something. So, yeah, definitely won't be using that unless I get forced to play Yareli somehow. But if I was to play Yareli, this would make it a little bit better. Moving on to Mesa. Oh, man. We got melee crit chance on Mesa. Totally useless stat for her. If I got secondary crit chance, it would work on her pistols. But yeah, melee crit chance, I don't even use melees on Mesa most of the time. Energy rate's pretty decent too, but I probably won't even end up using this Invigoration. And the final one is for Nyx, giving increased melee damage and immunity to status effects. So pretty bad ones this week. If I was a Yareli player, I'd probably be happy about that, but I'm not a Yareli player. Never, ever. But yeah, I'll see you guys on stream very soon. Hopefully you enjoyed this weekly reset video. Not a whole lot going on this week in Warframe. Just make sure you get, anything you want from Star Days. Make sure you get your Jahu gargoyle stuff turned in. Hopefully you get your Netrocell stuff. Hopefully you get lots of shards so you can turn them into Tau shards in March. But yeah, I'll see you guys on stream very soon, and I appreciate all the support. Take it easy, guys. Bye.